Chris Broussard, first things first. I'll get to J-Mac in just a bit. All right, Broussard, I don't want you sitting around and waiting. We can make McIntyre can sit over there and drink his sodas and be online and yell at people. Let's start with this. I said I like Tatum, and I like him a lot. But when you put him on a floor with Jimmy Butler, and I get to watch them, they're different people. They have different – I mean, Tatum is elegant. He's got a beautiful game. I mean, it is beautiful. It can lack a little edge to it. Butler's all edge. Sometimes he's shooting
right.
shot. I'm like, oh, this is ugly. And it's like, I mean, and this sounds crazy, but – you know, all of our lives are different. All of our journeys are different. Jimmy had a tough life, and I can see it when he plays. I mean, Chris, I can see his life when he plays. He is tough. He is a fighter. He's been doubted. Man, I mean, but I still love Tatum. Were you surprised how ineffective he was in the fourth?
Well, one, they weren't getting him the ball. And I heard you earlier talking about the coaching mismatch, and that's absolutely what's going on. We knew Eric Spoelstra was going to outcoach Joe Mazzulla. Mazzulla just has to stay within shouting distance of Spoelstra because he's got the far more talented team. You mentioned no timeout in the 46-point third quarter for Miami. And then they weren't getting Tatum the ball. He has 18 points in the first half, and he takes 4 shots in the second half.
Crazy.
I get it. He did get to the foul line, so that's a little skewed. But still, he wasn't getting the ball. And against Philadelphia, remember, Jaylen Brown was coming out with big first quarters and then not really getting the ball later in games. So Mazzulla has to find a way to get his 2 stars playing together. And when one of them's hot, keep feeding the hot hand. So
yeah.
As far as Jimmy and Tatum, I mean, Jimmy, like you said, he's all dog. And he's going to go at you. If you are not a dog, then you will wilt in his presence.
Yep.
Period. You know, on the court. And I don't think Tatum wilted. I think Tatum's got dog in him. But remember, even though he's been in the league a long time, he's only 25. LeBron did not win his first championship. Jordan did not win their first championships till they were 27. The guys that have typically won it when they were younger, Magic, Bird, they had some veterans with them, you know, that were great players there before them. So I'm wondering, is Tatum still just maturing to the point where he can actually lead a team to the playoffs? Because their inconsistency, whether it's Tatum or Brown or the team as a whole, is frustrating if you're a Celtics fan.
Yeah, and by the way, we don't talk a lot of defense, but I thought under Udoka last year, Ime Udoka, they were a better defensive team. I don't think Boston, I butchered his name. I don't think Boston's as good a defensive team as last year either. Do you?
No, not at all. I mean, Mazzulla tried to make them more of an offensive team. And then, you know, at points in the season, they started to show, they still have that defense. So they have some great defenders. Al Horford did a great job on Embiid, Derek White, Marcus Smart. They have great defenders. So I think they feel like when we need it, we can turn on the defense, but they try to play offense. And last night, look, if you're a Celtics fan, there are things to look at. One, your team does this periodically. They just play without a sense of urgency. We saw it against Philly. We saw it against Atlanta. We saw it last year at times during the playoffs, and they bounce back. Secondly, Miami shot 51% from 3.
Right.
Miami was the 4th worst three-point shooting team in the league in the regular season. Now, they've shot it well in the playoffs, but they had to have an uncharacteristically spectacular three-point shooting performance, and Boston shot 34%, well below their average, and they only took 29, which they shoot as many threes as anybody in the league. Credit Miami for running them off the three-point line, but still, Boston, those are 2 extremely uncharacteristic things for both teams, and it still was a 7-point game. So I think Boston, look, they pretty much got to win game 2, and I think they will.
Ime Udoka, that's better. I butchered that thing about once a week. Okay, let's go Lakers tonight. So I kind of defended the Lakers after they lost the first game. I said, first of all, I watched Minnesota's first game in that series. They got boxed. I watched Phoenix go to Denver and get rolled. Lakers had a great second half. I think Darvin Ham now has fallen into underappreciated category. I think he is a game-to-game, a terrific adjust coach, and I thought he had a terrific adjustment at halftime. I think Darvin Ham, I think the Lakers found a really, really good young coach. So I watched the second half of that game. In the second half of that game, I'm like, this is going to be a close series, and the spread is 5 points tonight. I kind of like the Lakers tonight. Do you think they solved any of the riddles in that second half?
Yeah, look, I picked the Lakers in 7, so I'm with you. I think they win tonight. It's not over if they don't, but it's just hard to beat another excellent team 4 out of 5 games. Look, when they put Rui Hachimura on Jokic and then Anthony Davis on Aaron Gordon and allowed Davis to roam, that clearly bothered Jokic, right? When he gets in the paint on Hachimura, AD was right there to disturb him. He didn't hit any field goals that quarter, and he had 2 turnovers, one of them because of Davis. And so they did find that. But the thing is, Denver's going to adjust too. And Michael Malone doesn't adjust as much in games. He'll adjust in between games. You mentioned Darvin Ham, and you're right. Great job of adjusting during games. He started small, which turned out to be a mistake. Yeah. But he quit, at the half, or not the half, but later in the game, he got away from that and found something. I bet they start Hachimura tonight. Yes. Now, what Denver's going to do, Colin, is they will probably put Aaron Gordon, or if it's Jeff Green in there, at the three-point line a lot, so try to get Davis away from the rim. Yeah. They'll do dribble handoffs with Jokic. They'll do pick and rolls with Jokic to either get AD in the pick, to switch or get him away from the rim. So they're both going to make some adjustments. But, yeah, that's something the Lakers can certainly do. Or this is interesting, Colin. If you start out tonight and Jokic is chewing you up, whether he's scoring or assisting or both. Yeah. Do you just say, you know what? Let's just single cover him with whoever, whether it's AD or Rui or whoever. Single covering him, and if he gets 47, fine. He had 53 and 10 against Phoenix, and they lost. Where he eats you up is he's going to get 30-something, but he's also going to get the 10 assists and get his other guys going. So that's something you might want to think about. Sure. You're not giving him 50, but do you single covering him? And if he gets 45 or 50, maybe you can live with that if you shut down everybody else.
Okay, I got to ask you this because you got to prepare for your show. But J-Mac and I have talked about this. He thinks you should trade Damian Lillard. My takeaway is I think they should move the number 3 pick because very rarely do you get a draft where you get a Melo, a D-Wade, and LeBron in it. That's one of the great drafts ever, and even Melo didn't win much as we thought. D-Wade and LeBron teamed up. They're legends. But if you can get 2 great stars in a draft, if Victor Wembanyama is the star we think and Scoot Henderson is the star they think, there's a chance there's not going to be a 3rd star in this draft. Even if he is a star like Tatum, who was a great NBA player, we're 6 years without a title. So my takeaway is move the pick. If you're the 3 or 4 pick, move the pick if you've got an aging star. J-Mac wants to move Dame. Where do you land on Portland reportedly giving up the number 3 pick?
Right. Well, Colin, it pains me to say this. I don't think I've ever said this on the national airwaves. I'm with J-Mac on this one. I mean, look, you said it. You and I aren't the only one knows that, who's the 3rd guy? He might not be a star. So what is another team? What team is giving up a star for that 3rd pick? Yes. Like a real star that can help Dame. And remember, to make salaries match, you might have to give up Anthony Simons, who's a nice young player, or Yusef Nurkic. So I just don't see the move out there. Because remember, a contender that's got some stars, they're not really going to be interested in the 3rd pick. A young team that's building, what do they have to give you? They might have a star that's not leading them to win. So what's he going to do with Dame? So I actually, look, I know I respect and admire Dame's loyalty and also the Blazers because they're being loyal to him. But I think for both of them, it is best to move on. And I think like Kevin Garnett didn't want to leave Minnesota. But when he finally got to Boston, won a championship, played a few more years, had great success, he said, man, it's the best thing that ever happened in my career. Yeah. Dame will feel that way. If Dame gets traded to a good situation, I don't know that this could happen, but say Philly, and he plays with Embiid, and they can do damage, I think Dame would realize, you know what, this is the move. And Dame gets major respect. He's a top 75 player of all time.
Yeah.
But he wants more. And the level of respect he wants, you're not getting unless you win a championship or at least get to the finals.
Yeah.
And so I think he would appreciate it after the fact. And I think it'd be better for the Blazers, too.
You know, there's a business aspect to it, is that the NBA ratings double, triple, quadruple in late April, May, and June.
Right.
And so for your shoe apparel, for your record career, what happens is not only is Dame geographically isolated in Portland, he's not on TV enough in May and June.
Right.
So if he went to a contender, his shoe business would be better, his music business, because the NBA, we all know this, the regular season ratings, nobody's, it's small. All of a sudden, they explode the last 2 months. So to me, if I was his agent, I'm like, Dame, this is why guys play in the Olympics, because the ratings are huge. You can sell your shoes.
Yep.
I would get Dame to go somewhere not tucked in the corner of the country and get him on television in May and June. Shoes, music. I mean, he's a wonderful guy. I think for business at this point, Dame should be a tad selfish, and the next 10 years be like, a little bit of that mogul stage, because he's going to the Hall. We know that. All right. Chris Broussard agreed with J-Mac. I'm going to have to sleep on that tonight. I'm a little unsettled.
Me too. You're not the only one. I'm wondering what's going on.
First things first. Good seeing you, buddy. All right,
Colin.
It's an interesting thing. Like, I have a soft spot for the Northwest. I think Dame is really a remarkable guy. He's like one of these guys. You know how a lot of athletes do hip hop stuff and they're like, whatever. And then like Dame does it and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And then, he could be a boxing analyst. You could put Dame in a boxing broadcast, and he's got a shoe business. It's like, he needs to be on that 8-week television show called the NBA Playoffs, because there's guys that aren't close to Dame that are, and they're in the Instagrams flowing and their shoes are selling, and it's like Dame's missing out. That's why stars give up their off season to go, because their agents go play in the Olympics. It's a shoe deal. It's an endorsement deal. You get your face on TV. Everybody, the Olympic ratings are gigantic. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.